Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today, in a Tier 5 battle here on the Trident map, that normally thoroughly nice chap, all-round good egg and snappy dresser, TC Freer, who you can regularly see streaming World of Warships on Twitch, is today going to be turning into a bit of a dirty, rotten scoundrel, because he's playing the Fujin. What is the Fujin, I hear at least some of you ask? Well, that's a difficult question to answer, because the Fujin isn't really any one thing. What the hell are you talking about, Jingles? Allow me to explain. Way back in the early days of World of Warships, the Minakaze was a thoroughly overpowered Japanese Tier 5 destroyer. So overpowered, in fact, that when they redid the Japanese destroyer line, it received a couple of nerfs. However, always keen to spot a sales opportunity, Wargaming released a pre-nerf version of the Minakaze and called it the Kamikaze. Unsurprisingly, because it was basically a carbon copy of a ship that they just nerfed, it turned out to be a little overpowered, and so they had to remove it from sale. But still, quick to spot a hot sales opportunity, they simply released it again under another name, the Kamikaze R, which was exactly the same as the Kamikaze, just with a different camo pattern. This also, for some strange reason, turned out to be quite overpowered, and that had to be removed from sale. But not to be outdone, Wargaming went third time lucky, released the exact same ship again, and this time they called it the Fujin, which is exactly the same as the Kamikaze R and the Kamikaze, except with a swanky new Halloween camo pattern. Equally unsurprisingly, this also had to be removed from sale for being way better than it should be. And that is the disgusting ship that dirty, rotten scoundrel TC Freer is playing in this Tier 5 battle here on the Trident map. And in case it wasn't completely obvious, he is divisioned up with somebody in what is, to all intents and purposes, exactly the same overpowered ship, except by a different name, a Kamikaze R. Now, if all of that wasn't sweaty and try-hard enough for you, TC also has one other dirty little secret. One other filthy piece of unwashed laundry that's going to be revealed towards the end of the battle. Honestly, this is disgusting. Although, to be fair, the enemy team do have a Kamikaze R of their own, but they only have one. And to be completely fair, having these ships isn't exactly an instant I win button, because they do have limitations. The guns in particular are kind of bad, which is fairly typical of most Japanese destroyers at this kind of level. You get into a gunfight with anything that isn't also a mid-tier Japanese destroyer, particularly a gunfight with anything Russian or American, and you're going to lose. So naturally, TC, no interest whatsoever in getting into a fight that doesn't favour him heavily, getting the hell out of there. Having said that though, I mean, the guns on this thing are bad. They have a 10-second reload, for God's sake. That's a slower reload on these 4.5-inch guns than most light cruisers have with their 6-inch guns. So you really don't want to be getting into a gunfight with this thing unless you can possibly avoid it. Oh, and his division mates managed to open the scoreboard and get the first blood award by torpedoing that T-22, and another member of his team in the Bayern has managed to nail a cruiser, so it's a good start. But while the guns on the Fujin, and by extension the Kamikaze and the Kamikaze R, are definitely nothing to write home about, they are at least better than the guns on the nerfed tech tree version of this ship, of the Minakaze. I mean, they're still not good, but they're better than what you get for free. I mean, it takes these things 26 seconds to rotate the turrets 180 degrees, but that's still better than the 30 seconds it takes the Minakaze. But then again, the guns are never going to be the selling point on one of these Japanese destroyers. The torpedoes are pretty nice. Now, it gets 3 launchers, and it's only 2 torpedoes per launcher, but they're fast, and they have a decent range, 7 kilometers. And that 7 kilometer range means that you can do that without being spotted. 7 kilometer torpedoes, and you can get the concealment down to 5.4 kilometers, which is insanely good. And that's just the surface concealment. I don't know if you remember, but at the beginning of the match, when he was getting into position, he almost got overflown by strike aircraft from the enemy Ryujo. They got to within 2.5 kilometers of him, and they still didn't spot him. Oh, and also the reload on these torpedo launchers. And again, this is going to depend on, well, not so much equipment fits, because it's only tier 5. It has a limited number of equipment modules, but with the relevant captain skills, the torpedoes have a base reload of only 47 seconds, and I'm pretty sure he's managed to get it down to about 40. So that's 6 torpedoes every 40 seconds or so, each of which does around about 14,500 damage. Which is going to be extremely bad news for any big, slow, lumbering battleships like the 2 New Yorks he's busy closing in on. The problem is, while he does have excellent stealth, I don't think he can slip between both of them without being detected by one of them. And if he's detected by one of them, he's detected by everybody, and he is detected. He does have a smoke ready to go though, although he's not using it. Well, I'm pretty sure that first New York is dead, so that's nice. And the surviving New York, for some bizarre reason, several seconds after TC was spotted, 5.4 kilometers away from him, fired his guns instead at the Bayern, angled nose in towards him, a good 15 kilometers to the south. So the two questions on everybody's lips here are, is that New York going to reload its guns and shoot at TC before the torpedoes get here? And is the New York going to vary its course and speed by even a fraction in order to avoid the torpedoes which TC has just fired at him? So that's a yes and a no. Even though it still had the armor piercing loaded, and might have killed TC if it had loaded the high explosive instead, and absolutely probably would have killed TC if it had fired the first salvo at him instead of the Bayern. But, you know, would have, could have, should have, didn't. So that's TC's third kill. He's lost a lot of health though, and his division mate down to the south in the Kamikaze R is both... Well, I'm not sure he is actually attempting to flip the cap. He's not. He was just sailing through the cap circle while dodging enemy dive bombers. And there's the Ryujo. Remember, these ships are incredibly difficult targets for aircraft carriers. Even though the Ryujo is considered pretty good by Tier 6 aircraft carrier standards, it's not even going to see a destroyer like the Fujin or the Kamikaze until they get to within at least 2.5 kilometers, which doesn't leave it an awful lot of time to react and get a strike off. The Kamikaze R and the Fujin, because they're the same ship with a different skin and a different name, have no such problems when it comes to tackling an enemy aircraft carrier. Kamikaze R is going for it. Wow, he's missed. Wow. Unexpected. Then again, 47-second reload at worst, so he's not going to have to wait long before he gets the opportunity to do it again, but of course now he's right on top of the carrier. So the carrier doesn't have to guess where he is, and is going to find it much, much easier to get a strike off. Not that easy though. He's got him. Well, it was never really in any doubt, was it? Well, TC Freer himself now steaming through the cap circle, although I'm pretty sure he's not actually attempting to win by capping here. And oh, there's the enemy submarine spotted on the surface. Now, if he starts shooting at the sub, he's obviously going to get spotted, but at the moment, the only thing in a position to actually shoot back at him is the New Mexico over there, who has just shot at and sunk the friendly Fuso right after the Fuso did the same thing to the enemy Alba. So he's got at least 25 seconds before the New Mexico reloads and is able to do anything about it. The submarine has dived, the New Mexico sees it, and is turning, either in an effort to dodge or more likely to bring all of his guns to bear. But at a range of 6 kilometers, the presence of a Fujin is probably more dangerous to the New Mexico than the New Mexico is to the Fujin. Shots out from the New Mexico, and I think those were the main gun batteries. So he's popped his clogs for the next 30 seconds. The submarine is back up. Turns in to avoid the sub's torpedoes. They are all going to miss. He's taken sporadic fire from the New Mexico secondaries. He's managed to land 2 torpedoes, not enough to sink him, but enough to make him wish he was somewhere else. Closing in on the submarine again. Little oil slicks there indicating the submarine's presence, so you have a rough idea of where he is even if he has dived. Depth charges away, torpedoes reloaded, a nearly point-blank range torpedo launch against the New Mexico. The depth charges are scoring hits. He's caused a flood on the submarine. He's popped his own smoke here. He's got the submarine. He's going too fast to stay inside the smoke screen. I'm not actually sure if he's trying to slow down here or not. It looks like he might be, but he's managed to get a kill. No, he hasn't gotten a kill. He's definitely still spotted. He's definitely still going too fast. And I'm thinking to myself here, TC, what is wrong with you? Slow down, take advantage of the smoke screen. The New Mexico could kill you. You only have 3,000 health left, but there is a method to his madness. He needs the kill on the New Mexico. And he needs that kill not for the Kraken Unleashed, although that's part of it, but because he is an even bigger, sweaty tryhard than we first imagined he was when we saw him coming into battle in the Fujin in the first place. Because he's running Isoroku Yamamoto as the captain of his Fujin, and when you get a Kraken Unleashed with this guy as the captain, not only do all of your weapons start reloading faster, but far more importantly, you get a free heal. Oh, TC, I used to think you were such a sweet, innocent, angelic cherub of a boy. Now look at you, you dirty, sweaty tryhard, you. But wait, he's not done. I mean, technically you could call this trying to win harder, but they're winning 8 ships to 3. They have a more than 500 point lead. So there's no real harm in trying to farm some extra damage. Although those torpedoes are going to miss. I don't know if the Hawkins saw them coming, but he's definitely dodged them. Not that it really matters, because they're going to be reloaded in 4 seconds. And also the team are capping. There's a Bayern and the Graf Spee in the cap circle. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the Graf Spee, because he's got a decent turn of speed, was just going through the cap circle in order to try to farm a kill on the Hawkins over here. But you could kind of understand if the Bayern was going to be content to just sit there. Not only because, better to be safe than sorry, you wouldn't want to throw the game away because you just underestimated how much damage the surviving enemy ships could do, but also he's in a buyer and he's not particularly fast, so farming capture points is good from his perspective. TC obviously runs straight into and gets detected by the Hawkins as he comes around the corner. Doesn't blow all of his torpedoes in case the Hawkins takes some violent evasive maneuvers, keeps 2 tubes in reserve, doesn't need them, 1 torpedo was all it took, and with the enemy team reduced to 52 points, it's only going to take 1 more kill to run the enemy score down to 0. The Graf Spee, either because he couldn't reverse in time or because he was gracious enough to allow somebody to get the last kill, has left the cap circle, buying time for the friendly carrier to get his first kill of the game, sink the Mackinson, reduce the enemy team to 0 points, and end the match. TC there with, well, basically all of the awards and 174,000 damage, which would be a respectable amount to do in a tier 10 destroyer, let alone a tier 5. But, well, that's just what the Fujin is. Oh, look, what a surprise, said absolutely nobody. 75% of the top 2 on each team were all versions of this ship. I swear TC isn't normally this sweaty. He's usually such a sweet and innocent World of Warships player. But don't take my word for it. Go and check him out on Twitch. Link in the video description. And while you're there, be sure to give him shit. For at least on this occasion, being such a sweaty tryhard. TC, you know I love you. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.